All right, 2 weeks of playing the Season 5 patch. Here is my tier list. Remember to watch my Season 5 balance changes summary linked in the description if you don't know what happened this season. As always, the list on the right is going to be a mix of the top 500 ranked meta and pro play, where I base it off my personal experience on the NA ladder, the regional leaderboards, and whatever comps teams are playing in the Overwatch World Cup qualifiers that are happening right now. The list on the left is for everybody else, and this is just going to be based on my observations when doing viewers submitted gameplay reviews, stats from Overbuff, stats from Blizzard, and a little bit of input from the community. Remember, these tier lists are just my opinion. You are entitled to your own opinion, and please just use the lists to help inform your decision, but don't let the list make your decisions. Let's begin. Okay, for D.Va, in top 500, I think she's A+ in one of the big 4 tanks in ranked right now, the big 4. She's versatile and a good answer for all the popular meta heroes in this elo. She's a strong pick on any map that requires verticality, can be annoying for like Winstons, Tracers, Echo, Sombra, Hanzo, Ashe, Ana, you name it. She's a great choice in reducing their effectiveness due to her defense matrix. For everyone else, I would say D.Va is B tier. She's a good and versatile hero, right? She's a jack of all trades, but you have to be careful when playing her. It's extremely easy to feed your entire mech for no reason. I see it way too often when I review like Platin under D.Va players. You gotta use your booster jet with a purpose. You gotta fly back to peel, or fly in to hold and deny high ground, or fly to commit and all in with the follow-up dive as necessary. Okay, Doomfist. I'm going to put him in C tier right now. He's not bad. He's fallen down here mostly because the Hinder Nade, the new Hinder Nade from Cassidy this season, can be really punishing. People have gotten better with that new Brig rally stun timing, and somehow his bugs have gotten worse apparently, according to GetQuickTon, who I messaged asking him about his Doomfist opinion. For everyone else, I would also say he's C tier as well, right? Remember, C means he's not bad. He's not bad, I just think there are better tank options at this time. For Junker Queen, she was S tier at mid-season 4, like easily. But she did get tuned down a little bit for season 5, but still very strong, A+ for both tier lists. You can just turn your brain off, press W, and that's all you need to do with her. Orisa received a tiny buff in mid-season 4 to her DPS. It went from 12 to 13 damage per projectile, and that actually helps quite a bit in converting kills up close. Although she wasn't seen much in ranked at the end of season 4, she's starting to pick up some steam in season 5, and was actually played a little bit in the Overwatch World Cup. So I'm going to go on a limb and say she's actually good right now, especially against Ramattra and Queen, who is everywhere in top 500. And teams at this level do know how to pump resources into Orisa to help her get value. For everyone else, I'm also going to put her into good, right? You do need the right resources so she can cycle her ability rotation. You need like big main heals like Baptiste, Moira, or even a Lifeweaver pocket, which I'll get to Lifeweaver later. Someone to continuously keep her up means she's pretty much unkillable once again, so I'm going to keep her here in B. Okay, I think Ramattra right now is one of the strongest tanks in the game. S tier for most people. Let's put him up here. But I'm going to say A+ in top 500. He's still very strong, arguably S tier, but he does share playtime quite a bit with the other 4 tanks in this tier. I'll get to the 4th one a little bit later. You can obviously punish bad positioning, instantly kill squishy heroes. 200 HP goes down in like 3 punches in a melee. And you can stall forever with that block. That block is really important right now in the high ranked meta, especially with Mei's everywhere. Mei walling him off means he has to stall and hold block so he doesn't get killed right away, and especially against the Hanzo arrow spam as well, but he's very good. Rein, nerfed in season 4, nothing changed for him in season 5. I'm gonna put him in B tier right now in top 500. He's a bit map specific, but Ramattra tends to outclass him as the brawl tank at this time. But Rein is still preferred a little bit on a few maps, as we saw in the Overwatch World Cup, and he's a bit of a comfort pick for some. For everyone else, I would still say he's like strong in A tier. He's always been sturdy and reliable. Okay, Roadhog, D in both tiers. Still nichey. The one-shot nerf at the end of Season 2 was rough for him. We're still waiting for the rework that they teased a long time ago. He is going to get changed again. But he did have a little bit of a buff in Season 5 where he gets amplified healing for a short period of time after using his take a breather. I'm not convinced this buff is enough to take him out of this tier, but he is pretty good into Ramattra and Winston, who are very meta right now. So you'll see a few Hog mains still play him on the ladder, but the limited stats we have on Overbuff back up this D tier placement. He's god-awful win rate. Okay, Sigma, very good hero, very strong on the maps he's exceptional on, which at this time are Circuit Royale, Havana, Junkertown. I'm going to put him in A tier when you average it out for both lists. I think he's very strong. Or strong, sorry, not very strong. Strong where he is. With all the other heroes, like all the other tanks, excuse me, moving up and down with the buffs and nerfs and meta shifts, somehow Winston has made his way back into A+ in top 500, especially after that slight nerf to Junkrat Queen. He's a top dive hero and space maker, and when you have all the pieces lined up on your team, like he's really, really, really good. He's not as popular for some reason on NA in Europe, but look at Asia. Man, is he a no-doubter here. However, like every other season, I've always placed Winston pretty low, and I still firmly believe he's C tier for everyone else. There's a bit of nuance here, of course, like this tier list is more targeted towards gold and under, but I have to lump everyone together or else I have to make like a separate tier list for every rank. And the reason why he is in C tier is because Winston requires A, resources, B, coordination, and C, decisiveness. And you'll often find low metal ranks wasting bubble, leaping in at terrible moments, or they don't have the right composition around him, which is like a tracer or another dive hero. Once you get to plat and diamond or higher, he starts to become more popular and generate a lot more value. Overbuff stats don't account for everything since it's only public profiles, but even with this limited data, you can see his win rate is atrocious in the lower ranks due to all those variables required to make him work, and you're better off playing a lower skill floor tank with less Exodia pieces required to pop off. Wrecking Ball was really good after a bunch of buffs in Season 3, but since then, he's had a small retune nerf of his mine arming time. I think it's 1.25 seconds now. A slight nerf to the adaptive shield duration. It's 7 seconds now instead of 9 seconds. And the indirect tough matchups have also shown up a lot more, right? Sombra became playable after Wrecking Ball's buffs. Cassidy's new hinder nade stops him completely. Briggs' rally has a stun. Mei's new slow with her new change prevents him from rolling around. And all of these factors have affected his overall pick rate and effectiveness. So he's like not bad to play in both lists. Again, there is some nuance. Top ball players in this rating are still going to be fantastic, and if any of those problematic heroes that I listed are not being played, ball can absolutely smoke lobbies, but for the sake of at a glance value, I'll just put him in C tier for now. Okay, Zarya. People have actually slowly realized that Zarya is a strong pick in her strong matchups, and I think she's actually a solid B tier for both lists, especially after the buffs, slow buffs she's received after the Season 1 nerfs. She's not a hero I would actually default into opening with, but she's a solid counter swap option when facing D.Va, Junkrat Queen, or Orisa, because she generally plays pretty well into them. It is a team game though, but I would say she's actually, yeah, not bad if you can get high energy. Not bad, sorry. If I say not bad, it sounds like C. She's good in those matchups and not bad overall. All right, Ashe. Last season, they indirectly bug fixed her, which was actually a nerf to her ult charge with Bob. It didn't really actually affect her pick rate and strength as we enter Season 5. Teams are still playing her in the World Cup. She still played a lot in Ranked, especially with the Mercy Pocket in Ranked, and is a reliable option, a hit scan option for everyone. And also, Bob is the 6th player, so I would actually say she's A+ for top 500, and maybe A tier for everybody else. Bastion is actually pretty good in top 500. I used to put him in C. I'd arguably put him in B right now because he's like a good answer to Winston, Ramattra, and all the Meis running around putting up wall. That's no problem for Bastion because he can break it, right? He's actually had quite a decent showing in the Overwatch World Cup. But that being said, he is a very on and off hero. Strong spikes when he's in that turret form, and then he's below average when he's out of that form. And if the enemy team knows how to navigate around that, he can lose a lot of his effectiveness, but those weaknesses aren't really capitalized for most players on average, so I would actually say he's pretty strong for everybody else because no one knows how to deal with him. Okay, I was a bit skeptical of Cassidy's hinder nade change in Season 5, but it's actually a pretty strong ability and is a strong answer for all the tracers running around top 500, so I'm actually going to put him in A+ for top 500, and for everyone else, maybe A tier. Right? He's still strong, but the nade is actually not as cheap as the 131 damage like it used to be. Since it's only 70 damage now, you have to still hit 2 shots to make it worth it, or 1 headshot. Remember previously it was 131 damage with the old Cassidy a few seasons ago. That means 1 body shot and a cheap nade was just like free kill, and he had 225 HP back then. Hell, what a time we lived in before, but I still think he's like pretty strong. We'll put him here after those these changes. All right, for Echo, she is your top flying archetype choice in top 500 because she's not as reliant on Mercy. You can actually run Echo with like an Ana Brig or even just a Zen Orb to name a few supports. She's picked quite a bit in top 500 play, and she showed up in some comps in the World Cup. So I'm gonna put her in A+, since Ramattra, Junker Queen, and Winston do absolutely nothing to her, so she can, you know, be super effective. The onus is almost always on the other DPS to mark her or match her and pressure her. For everyone else, I'm going to keep her in the, like, she's not bad tier, simply due to her high skill floor and ceiling. Now for Genji, he actually got unintentionally buffed in Season 5. He went from 24 back to 30 ammo. That's a decent buff. That means less reloading, less downtime, and slightly faster times to build your Dragon Blades. And I actually think he's kind of strong in A tier. Like, he's actually good. For everyone else, maybe down a peg in B tier, right? Still a good choice, but my argument is that there's a higher frequency of Moira players and Torb players in other ranks, and that will slow down his value. And then you couple it with like poor decision making from Genji players of this rank. He's probably not being played as effectively. He has a high skill ceiling. Cassidy's now can just throw a single hinder nade and stop him from dashing out. So he's good, but he's a little bit better in the high elos when players know how to play around it. Okay, Hanzo. He's actually risen up from, like, I think I used to put him in B or C. He's actually risen up to A+ all of a sudden in top 500. And maybe I'll give him an A for everyone else for a few reasons. Number one, his leap has a shorter 4-second cooldown compared to 5 seconds, which was added last season, I believe. That was actually such an underrated buff. And the other reason why he's really good right now is that Widowmaker was nerfed hard this season with her effective range, meaning Hanzo is the only hero in the game who can one-shot across the map. And now you top this off with a lot of like Meis and Rams running around. He can actually play at mid-range with the Storm Bow. He's actually a nice answer to these Meis and Rams, like I said, because he can climb up the Mei wall, or he can actually help spam down the Mei wall chunks, or you can spam down the Ramattra, force him to block early and create space in that capacity. He can play on off angles. He can challenge tracers, fish out Sombras with the Sonic, and even force her to translocate. And Dragon Strike, his ultimate, is a great zoning and separation tool, especially when other teams engage with like Kitsune Rush, for example, right? You shoot the dragon straight down that and it'll ruin that engagement. Okay, Junkrat is in a bit of an awkward place where he got rebuffed actually in mid-season 4. His mine went from 120 to 100 in early season 4, then they rebuffed it back to 110, so it's kind of like a medium ground. But he actually I don't see him that often in top 500, at least on NA East, apart from like actual Junkrat mains. It's not like he's bad. In fact, I think he's still like good, but he's just outshined right now by other reliable options. And for everyone else, he's probably still pretty strong because like spam rat at common choke points and getting random kills has always been a plague for most ranks. It does get, you know, the flank style rat gets a little better as you climb up once better Junkrat players know how to play around it and they don't play that play style, but he's super annoying for a lot of people, so I'm gonna put him in strong. Mei's change certainly feels worse, a sentiment shared by many Mei mains, but I'd argue she's only slightly weaker than she was before, at least at the high level. She's actually like perma-picked right now in the Overwatch World Cup because of the single target icicle damage got buffed, right? With the new changes, you wall off and focus down that isolated tank or isolated player, and then that Giga Slow that she has on it is like the new playstyle. And you know, high level Meis in the past, even when she had 100 DPS instead of the 55 now, were unable to hold down the beam for a long time anyway, since high level players do know how to like play distance. They try not to get too close to her. So I'm actually still gonna rate her as strong in top 500 play, but I maybe knock her down to B tier because she's less like mindless as she used to be. She does have a higher skill cap now since you have to hit those follow-up icicles, and it rewards the icicle playstyle more now, right? And these players know how to capitalize it. Maybe the icicles are more inconsistent down here. Right. The thing with Pharah is that she's usually pretty good, like in B tier for both lists, but an unchecked Pharah can absolutely dominate in top 500 and even in the other ranks, especially console, right? Because no one looks up, no one's got that reliable hit scan, and she can run over games. If you're like raw dogging Pharah without a Mercy, she probably goes down a tier. But for the assumption you're usually going to play her with a Mercy pocket, I'm going to put her in B tier. That's where she stands in my opinion. Reaper, he's good in top 500. He's just not popular on ladder, probably because he's boring and one-dimensional, but he's played a ton in the World Cup right now. He's great as a tank buster with all the Winstons, Ramattras, and even Queens. He has a sneaky style that he can flank to the backline and assassinate squishies like Ana and Zen. You'll probably run into trouble against Tracers and Echoes, and maybe even Kiriko Lucio, who can like speed around and avoid him, so he won't be good in every matchup, but overall I'd say he's a good hero. For everyone else, even better, strong, because he can self-sustain with lifesteal, he can escape with Wraith, and 250 HP for a DPS is a lot when target focus isn't the best, and he lifesteals. He effectively has like 300 plus HP with the free escape. He's harder to punish. I'm going to put him in A tier here. Reliable burst damage at close range. All right, Sojourn is an interesting one. Pretty strong in top 500, but for everyone else, averaged out, I'm actually going to put her in C tier. Honestly, if you're below gold, I would arguably put her at niche. I would even say don't play her below gold. Your mechanics aren't up to par. But as you climb up, it slowly moves up. Maybe this is the gold, platinum, diamond, masters, and above. But majority of players are gold and under in this game, right? I'm gonna put her in C. Her SMG spread that was super nerfed is really abysmal unless you're up close and at medium range, and that means you have to hit these rails to make her work, and there's a lot of downtime to slowly build up that charge with harder to hit SMG shots and then that big burst if you land it. And that's the thing, I just don't see players hitting consistent rails to generate enough value for Sojourn, especially below gold, right? The limited data we have suggests Sojourn has the worst win rate amongst all DPSs here. Bronze, silver, gold, plat, diamond. It's tough for her. But high level players, like in the World Cup, man, great Sojourn players are amazing to watch. Okay, Soldier gets a little outclassed in the DPS category right now for hit scans. I think your better choices are Cass and Ashe. I'd say he's down the middle. Like, he's a good solo queue hero, ranked hero. He does a bit of everything, right? He's actually pretty strong in the lower ranks, so right, again, since he's self-reliant. There's less things that can bother him here. Jack of all trades, strong here, good here. Sombra, very strong in top 500, and if the enemies are running Mei, remember the changes in Season 4 allow EMP to completely blast away the blizzard. That's pretty cool for Sombra. But that being said, she's here because she has a strong presence. She can annoy tanks, pressure supports, and absolutely dominate if no one keeps her marked. However, I'm going to put her in C tier for everyone else because your average Sombra player probably spends way too much time in stealth and not enough time actually pressuring angles, and maybe they lack the tracking aim to reliably confirm any kills in the one clip. What I find when I spectate or watch Platin under Sombra players or Sombra games is that they spend a lot of downtime, so the team is fighting 4v5. The team with the Sombra player isn't grouped enough. They get randomly picked, and now they're in a 3v5, and then finally when the Sombra unstealths, she gets kicked out, she runs away. There's just too much running around and not enough things happening that I find it hard to put her anything higher than C. She's also a communication heavy hero, and if you're not in voice chat or you're not pinging and no one in your team is in voice to listen to your hack calls, you're also losing a lot of value there. So not enough meaningful hacks, not enough presence in the lower ranks. But definitely, I mean, if you're a Sombra main, you're really good at her, of course you can play her, but that's just my take on it, C tier. Symmetra, I think she's good in top 500, and honestly pretty strong for everyone else, A tier. When you play Sim on her very favorable maps and positions like defense on hybrid maps or control maps, her placement actually goes even higher. But when you play her in maps where fights are scattered in different areas where she can't properly set up, like on some push maps, it may be a little bit more difficult to get max value, and some of her strongest counters are like, the Echo Mercy Pocket in the air, and you're kind of just out of luck here on Sim, especially since there's a higher frequency of Echo players at this elo too. That's why I have her in B, but in most other ranks, people are allergic to shooting her turrets down, which will naturally increase her value, so I have her in strong. Torbjorn, great here to play when your aim is feeling off, since his turret is a free 6th player on your team. I think he's a solid good B tier option in top 500. Good tracer deterrent and a counter to Kiriko's Kitsune Rush, since you can just coom all over her Fox. For everyone else, he's arguably even better. A tier. Turret never gets shot down at these elos. The shotgun damage up close is good. He's super tanky for a DPS hero with all that armor and overload, so yeah. Tracer. She actually got nerfed. The spread got nerfed a little bit. They said it was a bug or something in the patch notes for Season 5, but I still find her a cut above everyone else, which is why I have her 1 tier above. Highest skill cap, she's mobile, she's flexible, creates so much space by pressuring off angles that are just like not possible with any other hero. She's a low resource hero as well. She can blink to health packs, and honestly, still the #1 choice. Look at the leaderboards across all regions for DPS. She's everywhere. However, for the average player, I find it hard to place her above C tier. Like, she's not bad for the average player, but you really have to put in the work and the time and the hours to understand her effective range, blink management, good tracking, timing your engagements, because you can just instantly die with your low 150 HP health pool. Like, you need to know what you're doing with this hero. High skill floor, high skill ceiling. And if you look at the data, Tracer's win rate is not good in the metal ranks if you're not a dedicated Tracer main. There are far easier heroes to pick up and get good value from if you don't have time to practice her. Widowmaker probably nerfed the hardest in Season 5 amongst all heroes. They cut her effective range by a large margin, which forces you to play a lot closer in order to one-shot headshot. That means she's way more niche than she used to be, and she's a lot weaker on her previous strong maps and angles. She's one leap away from Winston or D.Va right now. Before, she could play so far away that Winstons and D.Vas would have to expend multiple cooldowns to even get close to her, to pressure her. So for that reason, she used to be like S tier in Season 4. I'm going to knock her all the way down to C tier. Like, she's not bad if you're just a god at doinking heads in top 500, and yeah, still not bad like if you can hit your shots, but it's a lot harder. You have to be really good and consistent now. A lot more punishable. That's probably the better word to put it, or better phrase to wrap her state in. Anna, queen of getting small mid-season nerfs, and now with her self-heal on her nade being nerfed to like cut in half or whatnot in the mid-season 4, she's weaker in the 1v1 because of that. But you now have Cassidy's new magnetic grenade to hinder and help peel pesky tracers or dive tanks. And players at the top level, as we saw in the World Cup, are pairing her with Brig again in more scenarios to kind of offset that weakness. She's still super good, works with a lot of these tank pairings, most common with D.Va in the World Cup, but still serviceable with Queen, Ram, Winston, and honestly most of the cast. So I'm going to put her in A+ for both lists still. I think she's very, very good. Baptiste, still very strong with Sigma, still great with Orisa. Ryan and Ramattra brawl. You don't even need full synergy in a ranked environment because Bap is such a damage heavy support, right? He can just solo carry since he has the benefit of being able to both heal and DPS without losing any output. Immortality field is so good. His ultimate is great. He has super high survivability with that instant regen burst and exo boot jumps. I think he's still A+ in top 500 and probably still A tier for everybody else. Mostly because players not at this level are probably still heal botting a little bit too much and not tapping into his full damage potential. Brig's rally stun buffs are great against the high mobility heroes, and she's super common in the World Cup to pair with Ana, like I said earlier. I think she's a solid A tier choice when it fits, but I'm gonna place her in maybe B tier for everyone else because brawl like Ryan and Ram are super common, and there's less dive here. There's less Tracers, less Winstons overall the lower the rank you go. So Brig doesn't get full value because she's much more of a bodyguard than she used to be, unlike, 2018 Brig where she could just frontline with Brawl. Times have changed, but she's still pretty good. Okay, Kiriko. Might be a hot take. We actually haven't seen too much Kiriko in the World Cup, but I actually still think she's top 500 in ranked play because you can pair her with literally any tank in the game. Suzu is fantastic for all the anti-heals, enemy burst damage. She's got great mobility, escape tools, and she can dominate a game by just simply getting random picks with those back-to-back kunai headshots, and I think she's just a safe choice, and players at this level can push her skill ceiling, and they'll always find good value. But for everyone else, I'm going to knock her down maybe 2 tiers to B tier, surprisingly, or maybe not surprisingly, because your average player isn't going to be doinking heads. Half of y'all don't understand that you don't need to lead your healing Ofuda. Some people think it's like an active projectile. You have to track your teammates with the heals like it's a Zarya beam or your soldier tracking. And in general, I feel like players aren't capitalizing on the angles she can pressure thanks to her wall climb. The data shows she's actually not doing as hot in the lower ranks, so that's why I'm going to put her in B. Lifeweaver, Giga buffed in Season 5. Lots and lots and lots of changes. He's actually quite serviceable right now, but still incredibly niche-y in my opinion. Especially at top 500. Like he's great against Reinhardt. You can ruin his charge, you can lift up people he shatters. That's like one really good matchup I can think of, but Rein's not that common. But Lifeweaver on your end, on your own team, like if you and your tank are in voice comm, you can communicate your all-ins and help grip them out when needed. He's okay. I think he's still D tier by the definition of being niche but playable. only because the other supports in this game are actually just so good right now, but he's not an insta-throw by any means anymore. He still lacks a reliable offensive option to completely take over a game in a ranked environment and does rely on the teammates to execute the plays, right? You can try your best to reposition and play make with like the pedal platform. You can set them up for a good position, but the onus is always on your teammates to do something once they're there. Unlike, I don't know, Bap or Kiriko, who can just kill the enemies themselves as an example. Why settle for a, let's set someone up, maybe they kill it, versus I can play Bap and Kiriko and just do it myself and confirm and, you know, don't have to play like a maybe versus a guarantee. In the lower ranks, he's not actually niche. I would actually say he's not bad. C tier, mostly because his single target healing is actually really good. He can pocket someone so hard. And since players are often heal bots, on the other supports anyway, Lifeweaver kind of fits right in that average playstyle here and can be a menace in the lower ranks where target focus isn't the best. Like, lower ranks probably can't kill an Orisa being hard pocketed by a Weaver, because Weaver can't really miss his heals since it auto homes and locks in, as an example. All right, Lucio, I'm going to say has risen up once again as a top choice in top 500. He kind of fits in with 3 out of the 4 meta tanks. You can run a myriad of compositions, as we've seen. Moira Lucio, Kiriko Lucio, Bap Lucio in the World Cup. He's always solid and ranked, especially at the highest level where Lucio players know how to utilize that speed engagement and disengagement, along with good wall ride mechanics for great survivability. I think the best Lucios I've seen personally are the ones against Junkrat Queens, where they like boop correctly when she goes for Carnage Axe Wings. That's super, super high value. For everyone else, I'm going to keep him maybe in B tier. He's still good. The win rates look pretty healthy across all the ranks. Mercy, I think she's actually bugged right now, if I'm not mistaken, where she can override all the momentum. Like if she gets booped, she can still like fly perfectly in the GA, mid-GA, or mid-Valkyrie GA or something like that. And in general, once players kind of adjusted to that cooldown nerf when performing movement tech that changed in Season 4, I think she's still great, especially when paired with some of the few meta DPS like Echo and Ashe. I'm going to keep her in A tier in top 500 and maybe keep her at A+ for everyone else. That's kind of how she's always been, A+ for everyone else, simply because she's reliable heal beam, damage boost still owns, she can fix mistakes with her res, and she's also not being as hard focused in lower elo. She likely doesn't have to GA as often as she does in the upper ranks, resulting in your average player not even noticing that slight nerf to her in Season 4. All right, Moira's Season 4 buffs, where she can now fade and coalescence, was like such a good change. It didn't really reflect too much in the ranked ladder throughout Season 4, but as Season 5 has gone on, we can see she's being played so much in the World Cup right now. High survivability, coalescence is guaranteed value. It doesn't really get canceled at all. It's great tempo. Her healing is great when your team is clumped up and running a Brawl Death Volley-like comp with Lucio. She's strong in top 500 and a menace, especially if the enemy team isn't running a D.Va to eat your damage orbs. It's just so much pressure. At every other rank, A+, just for the same reasons I listed before. And honestly, even the flanking TikTok Moira playstyle is actually really good at making space, as long as your other support understands this and is playing around it. A lot of people don't have the right answer to it if you do it right. And finally, for Zen, I would say he's strong. He's not as popular as he once was because of what's synergistic with like I guess the faster comps, but it would kind of feel wrong to rate him any lower than this here. Right? He's incredibly strong when enemy teams are running a front-to-back linear comp with no off-angle flankers like Tracer, and, you know, Discord Orb's still super, super valuable to melt tanks. That being said, if he's getting triple dove by Winston, Sombra, Tracer, there's literally nothing he can do about that. You probably have to trade backlines. You have to recognize when you can't play him, but overall in ranked play, he's still strong. And then for everyone else, he's good. I wouldn't say he's super strong. A lot of people like to complain about not getting enough healing, but I think just keeping a Discord Orb on people is super good, but his positioning may not be great. He can be punished, but Zen's still a good hero here. But yeah, that's my list for Season 5. Let me know what you guys think. That's it. Peace.